Welcome to the 2025-2026 school year. In this PowerPoint, you will learn about the Code of Conduct, and it will be explained in plain language. As the PowerPoint goes along, it will explain each section. We hope you have an awesome year. Welcome to a new school year. We hope in this presentation you'll learn how to get involved, understand expectations from the Student Handbook and Code of Conduct, and supportive tips to help you stay out of trouble.
In your student planner, you will also find the name and phone numbers of the principal, the assistant principals, and the dean of students.
You will each be receiving a 25-26 school year planner. Once you receive it, write your name on the page shown. The presentation to follow follows the pages throughout this planner. Use it as a reference throughout the school year.
Here you see Vestal High School's current bell schedule. Students are allowed to use their lockers, and they're allowed to carry backpacks to transport any materials needed between classes. Please be mindful the transition between periods is small, so use your time wisely. Once you've arrived at Vestal High School, our atrium is our single point of entry. Students will wait in one of the designated holding areas before first period. If you need breakfast, you can pick it up in the commons. The Counseling and Guidance Office is a very busy place, but they're available to assist students. You must be aware, though, when you come in, you must arrange an appointment to see your school counselor on your unstructured time. You can see the secretary to set up the time when you are not in class and see your counselor without interrupting any of your classes. You will be required to sign in when you report to the office and sign out when you leave. Please be sure to look at the information that's available about colleges, careers, scholarships, and awards, and check that board in the hall for important dates and other information. The counselors are here for you, and Google Classroom is a great tool to utilize when wanting to communicate and share information. If you have not done so already, please accept the invitation to join the Counseling and Guidance Office Google Classroom. Remember to join your particular class. On the next few pages, we will discuss general procedures and guidelines, from attendance to classroom attendance, truancy, makeup work, late bus availability, leadership opportunities, and other procedures. Email is a valuable tool that will help connect you to your teachers. The links are provided on the district website. Students must check their email daily. If you need help, please contact Ms. Sweeney in the library or the BOCES Help Desk at 766-3800 for further assistance. First period begins at 8 a.m. each day. If you arrive after 8 a.m., you'll be considered tardy. Attendance matters. Showing up can have a big impact on whether or not you are successful in your classes. So please be on time for class every day. In the handbook, you will see a New York State approved list of absences. Please remember, a parent or guardian should call the attendance office and send in a written note to report your absence. Class attendance regulation and progressive discipline. Remember, active participation or lack of participation can impact your achievement. Truancy may be subject to academic consequences, including loss of credits for assignments. Truancy includes, but not limited to, unexcused absences, leaving school grounds without permission from school officials, getting a pass and not arriving to their location, reporting to school and not attending class. Your parents will be contacted and progressive discipline will be enforced. Making up work. It is the student's responsibility to make up assignments and tests. Having clear communication between the teacher and student will ensure you don't fall behind on your learning. Generally, 1 day is given per absent to be able to make up work or tests. Depending on the nature or situation and specific circumstances, an alternative deadline may be established between the teacher and the student. As discussed earlier, it's important to be on time to all assigned classes, even commons.
When students are late to school, they will sign in through the attendance office. Students must present passes when arriving late for a class. Progressive consequences for tardiness to class can be determined by the classroom teacher or administrator. When students are late to school, the procedure will be as follows. For every 10 lates to school, an after-school detention is assigned. For 20 lates, 2 after-school detentions. For 30 lates, 3 after-school detentions. 40 lates, 4 after-school detentions. And 50 lates, 5 after-school detentions will be assigned.
Students who need to be excused from school during the normal school hours must present a written request from a parent or legal guardian. This request should be submitted to the attendance clerk on the day to be excused and must include the reason and the time. Students are reminded that your appointments will result in the student being marked as absent from your class. Parents and students are encouraged to schedule appointments after school hours. Parents wishing to pick up students during the school day must show a valid form of picture ID and be on the student's contact list.
Late buses. This year, late buses will be available Monday through Thursday throughout the year, except when canceled by administration for emergency reasons. Students should not leave the school and then return to ride the late bus unless given permission by administration. Late bus passes should be issued by a teacher. It's the student's responsibility not to be in the building unless staff supervised. There are 2 principal reasons to ride the late bus. One is to provide transportation to students who receive after-school help, and 2 for students who engage in club meetings or other authorized school activities.
Students who need medical attention will be sent to the nurse's office with a pass from the classroom teacher. The student must sign in and out with the nurse. Students are reminded the nurse's office is not a place to socialize or sleep. No student can be administered a prescription or over-the-counter medication without a written order from their healthcare provider and written permission from a parent or guardian. An adult must bring the medication to the nurse's office in the original container. Here at Vestal High School, we encourage student leadership. Students should exhibit positive character traits such as intellectual honesty, respect, tolerance, kindness, and leadership. Students who take a leadership role in our school and community through their volunteerism, their positive attitudes, respectful interactions, and active participation in class, clubs, athletics, and the arts promote a high-achieving environment.
Vestal High School has open campus for grades 10, 11, and 12. During the lunch periods 5, 6, and 7. It is a privilege to leave if you choose to, or you can stay and eat in the designated areas. Commons is designated for 11th and 12th grade, and the cafe is designated for grades 9 and 10. Or you can sit outside in the courtyard and enjoy the weather and hang with friends. The stadium is not a designated area to eat lunch. Commons is an 11th and 12th grade privilege. Students must scan in to Commons for attendance purposes. Students also must secure a pass to go to an alternate location. You must secure a pass from the teacher prior to going to that alternate location, whether it's to meet a teacher, take a test, or make up work. You should arrive to Commons on time. If you are late, you will be required to have a signed pass.
School safety is everyone's responsibility. Exterior doors may not be propped open, and the entrance into the building is through the atrium only. Students should never open a locked door for anyone to enter the building. Students should notify the SRO or administrator with any concerns related to school safety and security. If a student provides unauthorized access to anyone, the student may be subject to disciplinary consequences. Therefore, students who prop open an exterior door or let anyone enter the building through any door, including the atrium, will be subject to disciplinary consequences.
Student IDs. Every student receives a student ID. The barcode will be scanned as students enter and exit the building. The barcode will be rescanned when students return after lunch. IDs must be visible and worn at all times. If students have their student ID on their backpack or bag and they leave commons, a cafeteria, or a classroom, please take the student ID with you and have it visible. Temporary IDs will be issued for students who have misplaced, lost, or forgotten their student ID for that day. Progressive consequences after 3 offenses will be assigned. Staff should also wear their IDs. Lockers. Each student is assigned a locker. Locker combinations can be found on the top of your printed schedule. If for some reason you can't find it or you've lost it, the locker combination can be found in the assistant principal's office. Lockers can be used to store your belongings, from books to sporting equipment. You should never leave your belongings unattended. Unattended belongings will be searched.
Technology has become a big part of the educational setting. Please review the policies on instructional technology. We must connect with respect. Remember to power off, attention on, and respectful use allowed. Much more of our time will be spent accessing instruction through digital means. Your digital reputation is important. Please be responsible, be respectful, and be golden.
New York State has enacted a law that requires a bell-to-bell restriction on personal electronic device usage. Vestal High School will utilize the Yonder Pouch system to ensure we are following this law. The use of smartphones and other internet-enabled devices on school grounds will not be allowed for the entirety of the school day. This includes classroom time, lunch, study hall, restrooms, and physical education. In case of an emergency, families may call the office at 607-757-2281. The personal device daily process. Students must bring their Yonder Pouch to school with them every day. As you enter the building, including returning from open campus lunch privilege, you will turn off your phone, place the phone in the pouch along with smartwatches, earbuds, and secure them before entering the school. You'll scan in with your student ID, and you are responsible for carrying and storing the pouch in your backpack or locker. As students exit the building, you will utilize the unlocking devices located in multiple spaces before leaving the building to take the pouch home with you. Students who arrive late to school will lock their pouch at the attendance window. Students who arrive without their pouch will be required to leave their phone at the attendance window for the remainder of the day. Vestal High School hopes we have a smooth year of compliance. However, we know that sometimes students make choices that violate the rules, or in this case, the law. An incident is defined by any indication that a personal electronic device, or PED, is out and/or on and attracting attention. For example, alerts that include buzzing, vibrations, or ringtones. Vestal High School utilizes a system of progressive discipline that will enforce ranging from verbal warnings to lunch detentions, after-school detentions, and ultimately a conference with the student and a parent and/or guardian, and administrators to determine stricter confiscation of PEDs. Again, we hope it does not escalate. However, insubordination and disrespect when dealing with these incidents will receive consequences in addition to violating the PED protocols. As stated earlier, we hope that the transition this year is smooth, but insubordination and disrespect of students who not comply with administrators' requests to store the device will be subject to the Code of Conduct with consequences appropriate for those offenses in addition to the above progressive consequences. Depending on the severity, this may include a principal's suspension. Multiple incidents in a single day may result in discipline pursuant to the Code of Conduct.
Parking is a privilege. The district is not obligated to provide driving and parking spaces to students. This year, administration will determine eligibility for parking and driving. Attendance, grades, and previous and current discipline history will be considered. To become an eligible driver, drivers and a parent or guardian will attend an in-person orientation This will be prior to being granted permissions, and fill out appropriate paperwork and submit it to the assistant principal's office. Multiple orientation sessions have been offered, and one remains.
As stated on the previous slide, an assigned system will be employed to determine eligibility for driving and parking this year at Vestal High School. In addition, students are responsible to use good judgment and refrain from defacing and throwing garbage in any of the parking lots. Students who park in staff or other unauthorized lots are subject to towing at their own expense. Due to the lack of parking spaces available, we cannot accommodate all requests. Additionally, parking will be based on the student's application and student's history. Parking spots in the front lot are not guaranteed. Failure to follow these rules will result in the following disciplinary consequences. The first offense will be a warning and a review of expectations. The second offense, a lunch detention will be assigned. The third offense, an after-school detention will be assigned. The fourth offense, parking privileges, will be suspended for 2 weeks. The fifth offense, parking privileges, will be suspended for 5 weeks. The sixth offense, parking privileges, will be suspended for the remainder of the school year. Driving and parking for seniors. As previously stated, in-person orientations and submitting appropriate paperwork must be completed before students park on school grounds. If a student is eligible and awarded driving and parking privileges, hang tags will be administered based on grade and parking location. Seniors who will be parking in the front lot will have black hang tags. Seniors who will be parking at the Little League field will have gold hang tags. Remember, if you are awarded the front lot, you are to park in only the green line spaces. The entire space should be outlined with green lines. Coming back late from lunch or appointments does not excuse students to park out front. Driving and parking for juniors. As stated previously on numerous slides, attendance of in-person orientation and submitting appropriate paperwork prior to parking on school grounds is required. Hang tags will be administered by color and coordinated based on grade and parking location. Juniors, you're allowed to park in Salmon Field and the Vestal Public Library. At no point are juniors allowed to park in the front lot. Coming back late from lunch or appointments does not excuse a student from parking in the front lot. We sincerely hope that these requirements provide an opportunity for student safety and driving and encourage safe habits and behaviors associated with the privilege of driving to school. If you have any questions about driving and parking, please come to the assistant principal's office.
Late arrival and early dismissal are privileges our 11th and 12th graders can utilize. You must submit an application through the website. You do need parent permission, and it is subject to approval through the AP and Counseling and Guidance Office. This privilege may be revoked or not granted for failing grades, being late to class, or chronic truancy.
The next few pages will describe more in depth about academic and graduation information, from honors and awards to certificates, masteries, types of diploma, and other types of graduation information. Student services. Please take the next few minutes to preview the next few pages to read more about counseling and guidance, the Greater Binghamton Health Clinic, other services, community resources and phone numbers, the Library Media Center, and other resources that will be available to all students.
The Code of Conduct in plain language. On the next few pages, you will read about student dress code, student conduct, and penalties.
Here at Vestal High School, we embrace individuality and encourage it. Therefore, our dress must be appropriate, safe, and not disrupt or interfere with the educational process. Please take a look at this list and adhere to our guidelines. We must dress appropriately, not wearing see-through clothing, we must wear footwear,
Underwear must be covered completely. Please no hoods in the building. And our clothing should not have obscene wording or contain illegal or violent content. You may be asked to change or cover offending items, and violations may result in additional discipline. Prohibited student conduct. Prohibited student conduct is organized into 7 different categories. We will discuss each individually throughout the PowerPoint. Penalties are progressive. You will see a list here. As a general rule, discipline will be progressive, which means the first violation will merit a lighter penalty than repeated offenses. Administration will consider a variety of factors when determining penalties. A list of penalties is on the next slide. Here is a list of some possible progressive penalties. They can be verbal or written warnings, suspensions, removal from classrooms, or even from extracurricular activities. Minimum periods of suspension. If a student brings a weapon to school, they will be subject to suspension for 1 full calendar year, unless otherwise determined by the superintendent. Students who commit violent acts, they too are subject to a suspension of 5 days and a superintendent hearing, unless otherwise determined by the superintendent. Students who are repeatedly and substantially disrupting the educational process or interfering with a teacher's authority will be subject to suspension of at least 5 days. It is extremely important you read and understand the Code of Conduct. You will be held accountable for understanding and knowing the information that is outlined for you. In Section 2, we describe definitions to help you understand what a disruptive student, bullying and cyberbullying, discrimination and harassment, what a violent student is, and the definition of weapon. Remember, this list is not exhaustive. Prohibited student conduct focuses on safety and respect for the rights and properties of others. Students who do not accept responsibility for their own behavior or who violate these school rules will be required to accept the penalties for their conduct. Students may be subject to disciplinary action up to and including suspension from school when they engage in conduct that is disorderly, insubordinate, disruptive, violent, endangers the education, safety, morals, health, or welfare of others, engage in misconduct while on the bus, or any form of academic misconduct. We will discuss each of these further as the PowerPoint continues. A. Disorderly. Examples of disorderly conduct include, but are not limited to, running in hallways, making unreasonable noise, using language or gestures that are profane, lewd, vulgar, or abusive, obstructing vehicular or pedestrian traffic, engaging in any willful act which disrupts the normal operation of the school community. This may include bullying, cyberbullying, discrimination, and/or harassment. Trespassing. Students are not permitted in any school building other than the one they regularly attend without permission from an administrator in charge of the building. Computer and electronic communications, including any unauthorized use of computers, software, or internet accounts, accessing inappropriate websites, or any other violation of the district's acceptable use policy. This may include, but is not limited to, personal handheld devices such as games, handheld computers, and organizers. B. Insubordinate. Examples of insubordination include, but are not limited to, failing to comply with directions of a teacher, school administrator, school employee, or other authorized school agent in charge of students, demonstrating disrespect, lateness, missing or leaving school without permission, and skipping detention. C. Disruptive. Examples of disruptive conduct include, but are not limited to, failing to comply with directions of a teacher, school administrator, school employee, or other authorized school agent in charge of students. D. Violent. Examples of violent conduct include, but are not limited to, committing an act of violence as defined in Section 2 upon a teacher, administrator, school employee, or other authorized agent, or attempting to do so.
committing an act of violence, as defined in Section 2, upon another student or any person lawfully on school property or attempting to do so, possessing a weapon, as defined in Section 2. Authorized law enforcement officials are the only persons permitted to have a weapon in their possession while on school property or at school functions. Displaying what appears to be a weapon, as noted in the definition of weapon in Section 2. Threatening to use any weapon, as noted in the definition of weapon in Section 2. Damaging or destroying the personal property of a student, teacher, administrator, other district employee, or other authorized school agent on school property, including graffiti or arson. And lastly, damaging or destroying school district property. E endangers the education, safety, morals, health, or welfare of others. This may include bullying, cyberbullying, discrimination, and/or harassment as defined in this code. Examples of such conduct include, but are not limited to, lying to school personnel, intimidation, hazing, bullying and cyberbullying, selling, using, or possessing obscene material, vulgar and abusive language, stealing, defamation, discrimination, and harassment.
We're continuing to discuss endangers, endangering education, safety, morals, health, or welfare of others. This could include the possession or use of cigarettes, cigars, pipes, chewing tobacco, smokeless tobacco, electronic cigarettes, or other similar devices. The use, possession, sale, or gift of any drug or controlled substance, including marijuana or any instrument for the use of such, or being under the influence while on school premise or while attending a school or school-sponsored function are all considered ways of endangering the education, safety, morals, health, and welfare of others.
Use, possession, sale or gift, or being under the influence of an alcoholic beverage while on school premise, including buildings or grounds, or while in attendance at a school function or school-sponsored function, inappropriately using or sharing prescription or over-the-counter drugs, possession, use, sharing, or being under the influence of synthetic cannabinoids, synthetic marijuana, gambling, indecent exposure, exposing one's private body parts in a lewd or indecent manner, false alarm, misuse of 911, or discharging a fire extinguisher, extortion, or any willful act which disrupts the normal operation of the school community. If a student is suspected of being in possession, using, or consuming drugs or alcohol, the school may conduct tests that include, but are not limited to, a breathalyzer or safety assessment. Refusal to take a breathalyzer test is insubordination and a suspendable offense. Bullying and cyberbullying. Bullying means unwanted, aggressive behavior which harms or induces fear with the threat of further aggression. The behavior is repeated or has the potential to be repeated over time. Students may not intimidate, invoke fear, or otherwise harass staff or other students. Such behavior will not be tolerated, and it is a violation of the Code of Conduct. Bullying may include internet threats, online gambling, cyberbullying, text message threats, instant messaging, email, name calling, unwanted physical conduct, verbal or written insults, or otherwise demeaning behavior. Students should report all incidents of bullying or cyberbullying to a staff member or SRO. Off-campus incidents of bullying and cyberbullying that disrupt the school community can be addressed through the Code of Conduct. The Vestal High School principal is your DASA coordinator. The administrative team is here to support you if you believe you are the target of bullying or cyberbullying. We take your concerns very seriously. We cannot help solve problems we do not know about. F. Misconduct on the school bus. It is crucial for students to behave appropriately while riding on district buses to ensure their safety and that of other passengers and to avoid distracting the bus driver. Students are required to conduct themselves on the bus in a manner consistent with established standards for classroom behavior. Excessive noise, pushing, shoving, and fighting will not be tolerated. Remember, riding the school bus is a privilege. Students must adhere to all directives from drivers and school staff. Students must
ride their assigned route, and sit in their assigned seats. G. Academic misconduct. Examples of academic misconduct include, but are not limited to, plagiarism, cheating, copying, altering records, and assisting another student in any of the above items. Take the next few moments to read information about reporting violations, disciplinary penalties, procedures and referrals, information about due process, suspensions, short and long, criteria to consider, and outside agencies.
On the last few slides, we'll discuss some policies and additional regulations.
Student searches may be conducted if there are reasonable grounds or suspicion that the search will turn up evidence the student violated the law or rules of the school. We're guided by the rule of reasonable suspicion. The search will be conducted by an administrator, and there will be a witness. Diversity and culture. It is the intent of the Vestal Central School District to foster respect, understanding, and acceptance among children and staff who represent different religions, races, and nationalities. We are confident that together we can reach high levels of success. Please use this student planner as just one of the many tools to help you plan your success. We are so excited to have you back. We hope you have an amazing school year.